A lot can happen in a week. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Marcus Davis, owner of the Breakfast Club restaurant, and Marco Roberts, chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum. Marco, welcome to Houston Matters.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Panel, let's begin with a bygone era of scruffy hair, angst-ridden grunge rock, plaid flannel shirts, and a general attitude of disaffection. I speak, of course, of Generation X, or at least what popular cultures told us Gen X was all about. As we discussed on Tuesday's show, the movie Reality Bites opened in theaters 30 years ago this week, and it was billed then, and has been characterized since, as the quintessential Gen X movie. It was also filmed here in Houston, and as area film critic Joe Layton told us, it may well be the quintessential Houston movie. What it is for sure is now a very old film, and that means Gen Xers like me are, well, yeah, let's not finish that sentence. The Houston-based movie Reality Bites is 30 years old. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Marco Roberts.
It's good and bad, and first of all, I do object to the term very old. I'm just saying it's an old movie, okay? But, me, myself being more of the previous generation, I have to say that by the time this movie came out, I was already well on my way to becoming a very conservative curmudgeon. And so I didn't really care for these movies very much. I actually did decide to watch it, knowing that we would be talking about this movie. And it was what I expected. So it's like, yeah, this is why I didn't really watch this movie in the first place. But you know what? It is kind of fun to watch a movie from, it's kind of like the retrospective, like where you are in life. And 30 years ago, what was that about? And so I kind of was looking forward to see Houston back then because I was living here back then. One of the things that struck me is, wow, not much has changed. It's really much the same city, which kind of is a bit of a disappointment. So there's that angst of me, like when you're looking at your personal life, like where have I achieved, that I come close to becoming president of the United States? Not really. But it's okay. There's other things that you can be grateful for, like, well, we're still here. We're still kicking and alive. And that's something to be grateful for. But it made me think about Houston. And looking at that skyline going, that hasn't changed hardly at all in 30 years. And you realize that if you go backwards in time from 94 to 64, that was a dramatic time of change for Houston. That city of 64 is unrecognizable. That actually was a period of where 2/3 of the tall buildings we see today in Houston were built at that time, not later. That's when the Astrodome was built, and that's when the Galleria was built, and that was really the time of the space program. I mean, it was really an active time, and I guess to some degree I'm a little disappointed that if somebody had told me in 94, that's kind of over, and it's going to be pretty much the same from now on, I would have gone, ooh, that's a little downer. So maybe in the next 30 years we can kick it up again and do something more exciting and bring something new to Houston.
All right. Good, bad, or ugly? Marcus Davis.
Marco, is that your way of proposing that we must do something with the dome in 2024?
I think the dome, whatever. Let's bring something to Houston that's really unique to the city.
I agree wholeheartedly. So I can honestly say when I read the script, I said, "This
read
bites."
the script
when you learned that we were going to talk about this.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I said, "This bites." I've never seen Reality Bites, and quite honestly, I was not familiar with it. I was very intrigued that it was a Houston movie. And so then I got to thinking, why on earth did I not know about this? And, me being a Houstonian number one, I'm thinking, why has Houston not? I mean, there should be some memorabilia, some remnants, something. There should be a museum or something denoting that these two historic actors, Ethan Hawke
and Winona Ryder, and Ben Stiller, who also directed,
right?
Yeah.
So, I just think, so to your point about why has the city not moved on? Why have we not highlighted this? Now, I will tell you this. Culturally, I thought it was a cultural thing because I was like, I never heard of this. What was I doing in 1994? And what movie was hot for me, right? And that was I'm in college then, so I'm watching 5 Heartbeats 5 times a day. Bad Boys came out in the 90s. But then I got to thinking, okay, wait a minute. In 1994, Houston movie scene, Jason's Lyric was what I was watching.
Okay.
Jason's Lyric was shot in the city of Houston. And I remember because, and Jason's Lyric had Jada Pinkett was starred in it. Jason Payne also starred in it. He went on to play in New Jack City and sitcom on television, several other shows. So yes, that was my Gen X Houston movie. And the reality of it is I didn't get to watch Reality Bites. But fun fact, Jason's lyric was shot in 3rd Ward, Houston, close to the campus of Texas Southern. And I had a very intimate moment with the lead actor where he was walking across the parking lot. This is when Rice Food Mart was on Blodgett Street. And he accidentally walked too close to my car. Fortunately, we both walked away unscathed.
Forrest Whitaker was in that film.
Forrest Whitaker was in that film.
Bokeem Woodbine.
Bokeem Woodbine was in it.
Keeps showing up in movies.
It keeps showing up.
Keeps going, doesn't it?
He's one of those guys. Oh, that guy right there.
Lisa Nicole Carson, remember her? Yeah.
It was shot right here in Houston. It has a famous scene in one of the soul food restaurants. I think this is it. That's where I was in 94. But I will go back and watch Reality Bites and look and see the skyline. That has perturbed Marco to no end.
Well, like I said, it was so exciting when you saw one building after another and reaching new heights, and then it kind of stopped. Yeah. And then that was it.
Am I hearing a call for a reunion? Is there going to be a reunion tour in Houston?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe
it should be a mashup. We'll call it Reality's Lyric or Jason Bites.
Oh, that's worse. That's definitely worse.
Reality Bites Jason. Jason, no. Okay,
let's just leave it there.
Yeah. All right.
Panel, as we discussed on this week's Political Roundup on Wednesday's show, late-night talk show hosts are having a moment in politics. First, Jon Stewart returned to The Daily Show. Then George Santos sued Jimmy Kimmel for broadcasting cameo videos Kimmel purchased under fake names from the former congressman just recently booted from the House. This week, it was last week tonight's John Oliver garnering attention for his apparent real offer to Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas to resign in return for $1 million a year and a new luxury motor coach. Oliver's offer comes in light of Justice Thomas's acceptance of gifts, including luxury vacations, which have also prompted the Supreme Court to establish its first ever ethics code. Oliver says the Associate Justice has 30 days to agree to the offer. There's been no comment so far from the High Court. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Marcus?
Oh, this is absolutely good. This is too good. It's good that he put the offer forward to Justice Thomas. It would be bad if he didn't accept it. It would be ugly if he did.
That's an interesting dichotomy there.
Exactly. I have for a long time, and not about Justice Thomas, but I've had serious challenges with our Supreme Court and its setup, the lifetime appointment, this unbelievable belief that they are incapable of citing, and they have this utmost ability to walk this line. And, here we've seen over the last few years, decade or two, these are human beings that are available to the temptations of the day and can fall victim or prey to the biases. I'm not saying that they can't be judicious. I'm not saying that in every single case they pick one side or the other. History has shown that not to be the case. But I just believe that historically we've given way too much credit to this bench, and we've given far too much leeway to this bench. And lifetime appointments, they don't set very well with me. And I understand the supposed purpose behind it, but the same reason we don't allow a president to be appointed for lifetime or run more than 2 years is the same way we should consider Supreme Court justices. And when we don't pay attention to that, then we have situations like what happened with Clarence Thomas, and we have situations where now they have to establish this new code of ethics because now all of a sudden things are different, or either we're just seeing them differently.
Good, bad, or ugly, Marco?
I think it's bad. I mean, first of all, I don't even like John Oliver. I always found that he was spectacularly wrong in 2016 when he assured his audiences that Trump would never be president. It was not possible. And of course,
I blame him for Trump winning.
Is that right? Yeah, that's interesting. So he was, but this is obviously a promotional gimmick. He knows very well that Clarence would never accept anything like that. I also think that the allegations, these are from 20 years ago. A Clinton-appointed judge cleared back at 10 years ago, reviewed these. This was reviewed. It was clear and said there was no evidence here of any wrongdoing. The most you can say is that, maybe some of the things didn't look right, but it was mostly of appearances. And, it's very difficult because so much of this is what do you do when you are one of the, the least wealthy Supreme Court justices, and a lot of the people around you are far more wealthier than you are. So I never really did appreciate the way this was targeted against him. And even the fact that ProPublica, when they published the stories against him, did not publish the fact that the committee had investigated and what the result was. And why didn't you do that? If you're going to print out the whole story, then point that out as well, and you didn't.
Touché.
I do agree, though, we shouldn't have lifetime appointments. I think that is certainly a corrupting element. I don't think that we should have judges that sit there for 20, 30, 40 years. This just isn't right. I think maybe when it was done 200 years ago, or 240 years ago when the Constitution was established, we weren't foreseeing people to live that long. And so at that time, you thought 10, 15 years. Now, because of this, it's so politicized, and everybody's like the pressure that was put on Judge Ginsburg because of she might pass away. And this shouldn't be happening. It should be maybe you have a 10-year term, and then that's it, and then a president wants to reappoint you or not. But if it's a fixed appointment, then it still should be the same thing. It doesn't affect your decisions and whatnot. And then no one is on this race as to who's going to get to appoint more. No, it's an even number, maybe 2 every 4 years, we get 2 appointments or whatever it is. But I definitely agree with you that the permanent appointment process that's something that I think our country should change.
It's really interesting because the whole idea of the lifetime appointment for a Supreme Court justice was so that they could not succumb to influence. The whole idea was there's under no risk of losing the job, then they'll be able to be free to, interpret the law as they deem fit. And yet you're both kind of saying, well, maybe it's not working that way.
Well, I mean, if that be the case, then why, and which I'm not saying that it is, then why isn't that, extended to all judges, right? So by that argument, you're admitting that some judges are susceptible or will do things for the sake of election or with election in mind. And those are the ones that hold our everyday life. Now, I know we put a lot of value in the Supreme Court, but the criminal court in Harris County is very important.
Absolutely.
The civil court in Harris County is very important. And these guys have to run every election.
And they have a more direct impact on our daily lives as well.
This is also, and this gets back to what you were saying, Marco, why some believe the solution or approach that maybe should be taken with all judgeships is there should be retention elections. They could be appointed, and then after a certain period of time, voters decide whether to keep them or not.
Yeah, I think that as human beings, we all need some accountability. We just can't be left to our own devices where we know that we can do whatever we want and there's nothing that can be done about it. I just think that's unhealthy for anyone. I mean, I'm okay with a long term, but it has to have an end where the people at some point can have another say as to what you should say.
There's an old proverb that says absolute power corrupts absolutely.
I think that's true.
Finally, panel, as we discussed earlier in this very show today, Saturday is the inaugural Hockey Day in Houston. St. Arnold Brewery's Beer Garden will be the site of the event starting at 11 a.m. to coincide with the St. Louis Blues-Detroit Red Wings game. Participants include members of the Dallas Stars Extreme Team assisting with street hockey clinics. NHL, WHA, and other professional hockey league alumni will be on hand. There will be a silent auction, other local hockey-related vendors, even a Zamboni. No word if it'll be used to resurface the beer garden. Hockey Day in Houston is Saturday, and I know it's hard to believe, but I had nothing whatsoever to do with it. Is this good? Is this good, bad, or ugly, Marco?
Well, who's against the party? I'm always against the party. I may not be a hockey follower, but I might even consider going myself just for the fun of it. We always does highlight the fact that we don't have a hockey team here, and we haven't had one in a while. And I think we're the largest city that hasn't had one since forever, since the Arrows left, I think.
Well, no, we have never had an NHL team.
Not an NHL team, but the last professional team, I guess, was the Arrows. Maybe this generates some interest because I think that, we're the 4th largest city in America. We should have one of everything. And so I'm all for this. I think it's good.
All right. Marcus?
I have to let my bias come out. I mean, and I agree with you, Marco. I would be excited if Houston had hockey. Not even for me, just for the people who love hockey and for the city of Houston. And I would probably take a like to it. I've only been to one hockey game, 2. I've only been to one NHL game in all of my life, and that was in Tampa, Florida, some 25 years ago. And of course, I went to one here. But anything that highlights anybody from Dallas in the city of Houston, I have to poop on.
Oh, boy.
I'm a Houstonian. I am.
They're coming to help teach Houstonian youth how to play hockey.
That little town, 45 North, can stay where they at. We don't need their help in anything. In anything. And I mean that with every fiber of my Houston being.
Marcus Davis owns the Breakfast Club restaurant, a Houston restaurant that will not be moving to Dallas.
Hey, no Dallas franchise is coming, right?
And Marco Roberts is chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum. Marco, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.